Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining us here today. This is Nicole with Topaz, and I am very happy to welcome back Tony Sweet. Hey Tony.
Hey Nicole, what's up?
Oh, I'm very excited. Tony's here to present creative processing and personal expression with Topaz. We have a full house here today, so super
Wow.
excited to see what we will be taking a look at. So let me tell you a little bit more about Tony, and then I'll hand it over to him. Tony is a highly recognized professional nature and fine art photographer whose work has been published worldwide in every medium. Tony is a Nikon legend behind the lens, lecturer, co-owner, and operator of the Visual Artistry Workshop Series, which is supposed to be amazing, and he's represented by Getty Images. He's also the author of 5 books as well. I'll give you all the information to follow Tony as well, but his website is tonysweet.com. You can follow him on Facebook at tony.sweet. It's facebook.com, tony.sweet, and then Twitter is ttsweet. So all that information will be sent out to you in the follow-up emails as well as given to you at the end of this session. So with that, I will go ahead and turn this over to Tony. Give me 1 second to share my screen.
Hi everybody. Wow, thanks a lot. It's always a great privilege to present to the great for the great Topaz team and their great software. But we have a lot to get to. So let's get the ball rolling here. Let's begin with this great gentleman that we photographed in Cuba on our annual Cuba trip. There's something about Cuban people. They have a certain glow, like this inner peace that I don't see too much in the more Western, more hectic cultures, you know. And this guy was fantastic. So let's begin simply with this gentleman. We're going to go immediately into, now there's no real, like I'll do this first, this second kind of thing. It's sort of getting used to the software and then knowing where to go. You got to spend time with all this stuff to see what it does, so you know where to go, basically. So I'm going to start with clarity, and I've got a preset. Always hit reset first, okay? And then the preset I have is called First Move, and it pretty much just gives us a little bit of punch. It takes these and puts these on the right-hand side of the window, these settings in here, and it gives you from here to there, just a little punch. Now, we can interpret what this gentleman looks like, because no one really knows. He was a little more dark complected, so let's make him look the way that we want him to look, because that's kind of what it's about. We're going to go into our black level and pull that back a notch, somewhere around here, and the same with the midtones. And that's pretty much what he looked like live. I mean, he was very, very dark complected, you know, and I tend to shoot these people, you know, wide open. So the eyes aren't quite as razor sharp as I would like them, which is fine. It's close enough. So what I will do is we'll just say OK here, and we'll take this into another great Topaz plugin, which is Detail, which I'm going to use extensively on this webinar. So, and I'll pick, again, hit reset first, and I'll pick the least of the presets, the most minimal enhancement, which is this one. And then I want just a little extra punch. We'll go to maybe about somewhere around there. Okay. And then we can look at before, and then we added the little punch, bring the detail out, the wrinkles. And this also sets him apart from the background, creating sort of a three-dimensional sort of kind of a look. It has depth, and we'll just say OK on this. Okay, so there we are, and we'll look at the history. We began with this gentleman here, and with a little bit of clarity, which is a very, very strong, very powerful plugin, which I use a lot, and then a little extra detail with Detail. It does not take much to make this stuff really pop. I tend to work in very small adjustments, as you'll see, in most cases, because these adjustments are all cumulative, and 7 or 8 really small adjustments is really one great big adjustment. You know what I mean? So, I tend to work in small moves, and I tend to under process rather than over process in most cases. So that's our car repairman. That's our mechanic, this gentleman here. Let's go to our one more Cuba shot. Cuba is the largest outdoor car museum. And according to our guide, if you watch Godfather 2, when they're sitting in Havana and all that stuff that they do in Cuba is actually true with Batista and the mob. And these are all cars that were there that have been kept up by these genius mechanics for, what, 60 years? Something like that? Unbelievable. So we're going to go in here in layers. I'm going to take this straight into a black and white effect. So we're going to add a layer, which is Command J, and we'll go directly into black and white effects 2. And the first thing that I do is hit reset always. The Topaz filters are what's called sticky filters. So the settings that you used on your subsequent images come up on your next image. And you can choose to keep it, or in this case, just reset it back to its your default settings. The first thing I do in black and white is to run through our filter array. And these can change radically. Those who shot black and white in the old days using hardware filters know that the range of what's possible changes drastically with the red, the orange, the yellow, the green, and the blue, which I like a lot. Notice how with the blue filter the car stands out more. The background's still dark, but with the green filter it's kind of the same tonality as that building. So I want to get more separation, and we have plans for this image. So we'll pick our blue filter, and then we'll go down to conversion, basic exposure, and bring the contrast up just a notch. The great thing about Topaz is that you can just work down top to bottom. It's very logical, very user-friendly, and it's very powerful, and we'll move this up just to brighten it a notch. And then we'll go to our adapters right down the pike, adaptive exposure, and we'll bring this up just a bit, somewhere around here. There we go. And then we'll play our regions. What you want to do is just move these around just to see what it'll do for you. There's a lot of latitude. Always push the sliders when you're playing around all the way up and all the way down to see what's available to you, because you don't know until you try it. You don't need to use it, but always max these things out and minimize them out and see what's there for you. And then we'll go to our protect highlights and maybe just move that up just a notch, right around here. See, what that does is, I also want to mention that the use of hardware filters has decreased dramatically in digital photography, but we do need polarizers. And I left this in just to show you that that is glare. And if I did have a polarizer, that would be gone. That would look like that. So that's why you need to have one, and unlike what I did, always have it with you. Okay, and we're going to go down now. Let's close up some of these windows here. We'll close up this and close up that. I want to go down to our finishing touches because I want to drop in a vignette. And the first thing we do is grab our center. Come on. There it is. Okay. It's got to turn to a cross. If it's not a cross, it's not going to do anything. To select where the center of the vignette will be, which is right there. And then basically just move things around. We'll go to our strength. We'll pull that back a little bit. It's a bit much. Somewhere, maybe a little more. Now, bear with me. We're going to fix a lot of this stuff as we go. And vignette size, maybe up to about, you see it lighten up already? Went to a larger size. And then the transition, get a smooth transition, move it to 1. See how it's lightening up a little bit more. And then move our curvature from a round or oval vignette to a rectangular vignette, and a little more opening up on the sides. Now, that's kind of where we are. The problem is that there's some dark areas in here. And we're going to go to local adjustments, which I use a lot, and I use a dodge selection a lot. The brush size here is probably a little large, so we'll pull this back. And then the opacity that's fine for now. Hardness is always down to 0. We want a good, nice, soft brush. And then we'll just, whenever you touch the screen and pick up the pen and set it down again, the opacity increases. So if you can hear it tap, see what's happening? Whenever I tap it, it gets brighter each time. So rather than just dragging and painting, I'm tapping. And same in here. Now the software does get confused once in a while. When you do that too much, it'll bomb out on you. But that's, nothing's perfect in life. And then we'll bring this out a bit and do that. And especially here. I'm tapping as I'm doing this. Because each time you do that, the opacity increases and you let in more of the bottom layer. I'm going to stop before anything happens. Okay, so we're basically good right around here. Now, we're going to say OK, and there's our picture of our mask, but we'll say OK. So I'm satisfied with that. It's a black and white. But now the fun part is that, what if I want to add some color back in, right? We can drop in a mask right here. And if white equals, follow the bouncing mouse, okay, equals black, then we're going to hit B for brush. Don't forget, if white equals black, then we're going to paint that color up into this image. It's real simple. Then you pick your brush. I tend to stay around 50 or 60 on opacity and flow rate. I just like that. And then we'll put some color back in the car. That way we have sort of a black and white shot with some hand coloring, sort of an idea. And then we'll just keep painting in here. I like this part. License plate pops right in. And then we'll just keep going. And get this done. Now, don't forget that if you paint the windows like this, okay, that building's black and white. So it's not going to work if that's black and white and that's color in here. So if you're in Photoshop and you do that, you can go to your eraser tool, okay, and then just get rid of that color that you mistakenly brushed in there. See that? That's all we're doing. So if you miss, go to your eraser tool, and you're pretty much good to go. Let me see, did we miss anything? Let's go back to our brush again one more time. B, I never know which one it is. Okay, brush. And we'll just bring some more of that color back in here. And that's our basic deal. So let's go to our history, and let me show you where we started. And then black and white effects. We picked our filter, and then brushed in our color. So we have a black and white picture and one color element, which I think works not too bad. So, if I'm going too fast here, please slow me down. Let's go to, let me see what was next here. Oh yeah, the spiral flower. Yeah, I love this subject. Let's go over to here. Okay, spiral flower. It's important every so often to have an idea of what you want to get out of an image, and this is a multiple exposure first of all, which this subject is perfect for multiple exposure interpretation. Just the shape of it, it's sort of a shuriken type of shape. It's not quite, it's sort of a semi-closed flower, so you have these petals kind of coming out in a fan kind of configuration, and we just took that to the next level and shot a multiple exposure. So there's actually 10 exposures. You can see them. Let me go right here, and we'll count them. I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, the issue here is that what I want is a dark edge. I want the edges dark, and I want more of these multiple exposure fans, these here I call these fans, these movement lines, to be a little more pronounced. That's pretty much it. So this will almost all be done pretty much. And one of my favorite Topaz plugins, Adjust 5, which is phenomenal. Again, reset all. And we're going to go to our adaptive exposure first, right here. This is where the action is. We're going to pull this up. What you want is pretty much a graphic. Let me see. It's 4, something like that's not bad. And then bring the contrast back. Watch what happens. See, that gets real soft. Maybe here to here. And now, if I go before, you see these lines come in? That's what this stuff does, right in here. You can increase your detail, there we go, dramatically. So now, I'm going to go to our finishing touches again and bring in a vignette, like before. We're going to place our center in the center, literally. And then we'll go down to our strength, bring that down this way. You see the edges get dark? That's what I wanted. And the size, you go that way, it's up to you. I'd rather pull it back, because that will open up here in a second. And our transition will go up a little bit. See it brighten up? And let me see. What if we move this up to about here? Doesn't much matter. Okay. Then back to color, because I don't like this in color. Now, I would normally go into black and white effects, but you don't always have to do that. You know, in this case, I'm going to just desaturate it, and that's kind of what I have in mind. Just puts it right there, you know. And then we're good right now with that, so we'll leave that alone. And back to our adaptive exposure, we'll add a little more brightness right around here. There we go. And then we'll leave our highlights. Let me see. At 0. There we go. A little brighter there. And our shadows at 0. And that's pretty much our ball game on this one, folks. I was actually going to go in and try to sharpen this, but if you do that, you're going to bring in more of this detail here, which I don't want. And flowers work pretty well as a soft subject anyway. So if I say, if I OK this out, and it's all done in Adjust, we'll look at our history, and we just started here, and what I wanted to happen actually happened, which was we have a little more detail, and we have a black edge or a black vignette, so to speak. And that's pretty much what I had in mind. It's important to bear in mind, folks. Now, you know, I'm not interested in capturing what things look like. You know, a very famous photographer and pretty much one of my mentors, the great John Shaw, said, if I want to see what things look like, I will look at them. And I thought, you know what? That's actually that's true. This is interpretive to me, and the initial image is just raw material. It's just like pouring iron ore. It's just liquid steel. Whatever you do to it, hey, you want to mold it, whatever you want to do is completely up to you. It's your picture. Just do what you want. Okay, ropes and chains. We're going to add a layer in Photoshop, because I'm going to be taking this into black and white a bit later. So we'll do that now. Command J, and we're good to go. So first thing, I want to map this out in the detail 3, which is really, really great. There's a lot of stuff we can begin to explore what this can do. And I really want to max out the detail. Something like that. See how crunchy that is? Between here, medium 2, and strong 1. I will say medium 2. There we go. Just a little bit of edge taken off as opposed to this preset here. And that's pretty much the ball game on this one. Overall detail, yeah, sure. Okay, let's bring the small detail up just a little bit. Right about there we go. There we go. Now we're talking. And now we're going to get out of this, because that's our first step. That's our first layer. We're from here, which is like a nothing shot. It's nothing, because it's all about what you want it to feel like. This doesn't feel like anything to me. This is getting there. These are working ropes and chains in a fishing village. you know. So I'm going to just pull the opacity back here. This is always a great stopgap. If something's too strong here, rather than reinventing the wheel, just go to opacity and pull it back. Normally, believe it or not, normally 2/3 works almost for some kind of golden mean. I don't know what it is, but almost any effect will look really good at 2/3 opacity. I don't know why, but it just does, at least most of the time. Okay, so we're here, and we're going to go right now. We're going to flatten this, and then we'll take this into black and white effects, which is where I wanted to go initially. Right into here. And again, we're going to go through our filters, see which one we like. Notice how the filter affects the tonality of the chains here. And then it gets darker as you move down the line here. I want it to be a bit bright, so I'm looking at this, at the orange filter. And then we'll come down here to basic exposure, and we'll move our contrast. That's probably fine. Our blacks are fine. Let's pull that back just a notch. There you go. See how it softens up the interior? Watch. See how hard that gets in here? And then when you pull contrast back, not to 0, just back a little bit. See how it softens that up? That's what I have in mind. And then we'll boost the blacks maybe. Let's see what that does. Again, I cannot overemphasize that you got to get in here and play around with this stuff. Let's take that to about there and bring the whites up a little bit. Okay, we're getting there. We're getting there. And then look at the filter, the one that we chose. These are the controls for that. And we'll bring the hue up just a little bit. Let's go all the way. Can't really tell, can you? Sure you can. Okay, and you bring this back. We don't want it too blocked up, right? But we want the crunch, but we don't want a whole lot of stuff going on in there. And then we'll do the strength back a little bit, lightened up just a notch. Now, like we've done before, let's do a little more here. Okay, that's the idea. I don't like these blocked up areas. And like we did with the car, we're going to go into our local adjustments right here. And this pretty much stays, I'm sorry, I will like only dodge probably 99% of the time. You can adjust the strength. I do that after the fact. Brush size is for here. Opacity is fine. Hardness is 0. And then we'll just, again, hear the click. That's picking up and dropping the brush. Each time it increases, makes it lighter. It increases the opacity. And I'm not sure what it is, but with almost all software, if you do this too much, it just doesn't like it. I think it's a Wacom issue, but Wacom's my tablet, by the way. See that? Open those shadows up a little bit. A little more here. And that's our basic deal. Yeah, okay. I think that's now that feels like something. Feels like a working class, like a working shipyard, you know, it's fantastic. We're going to okay this out and take it back here, and there's our history where we're saying we began here. I'm sorry, the history right. That's a nothing image. And then detail, brought some of that out, and then we finished it in black and white. There you go. Yeah, really easy. Topaz is very, very easy software to use. You just got to get in there and play around and see what it gives you. You can't be guessing on every shot. Although once in a while it's okay. Okay, this image is shot in Philadelphia. We call it the Graffiti Underground. Full name is Coal Pier number 18. At the very top of this graffiti is railroad tracks. Trains would come in, dump the coal, they would put it on cargo ships, and it would go wherever. This is an incredibly fun shooting venue. And it may not be around too long because it's waterfront property. And there's a casino about 2 miles away from us, so it's just a matter of time. But I think it's there for the next, as long as it's there. I don't know. It might be gone now for all I know. Anyway, let's begin. Again, we're going to do most of our work, a lot of it in detail here. But we have some new stuff going on in detail right now. Now I will basically shut this window on this side. And I'm going to do this all manually. First of all, reset all. That's our raw file. What I'm going to do is pretty much pull a lot of the detail out and then put it back in a different way. I know it sounds crazy. Just pay attention here and see if this works. We're going right down the pike here. Small details. Pull that back a little bit somewhere in here. Same thing. Pull this back a little bit somewhere in here. See it softening up? And then a little bit over here. And again, playing around with this stuff, you learn to get out of the, what's the word I want? The box. That's right. Okay, medium details boost. We're going to pull that all the way back. See how soft that is now? Let's have a look. Before, and then we took all that out. But we're going to put it back in a different way. Let's say large details to 1. Ratchet it up. And then detail boost. Just bear with me here. I know it looks weird. Up to around, that's not bad. Maybe a little bit more. There we go, somewhere in there. Then we're going to go to our tone. Just like I say, just right down the pike. Just write down these controls here. It's no problem. And we'll pull the exposure, tone exposure back just a notch. These are all very subtle maneuvers. And then contrast, move that up just a little bit. A little bit more than that. Okay, all right, the blacks are getting deep. That's good. And then let's go to our highlights are fine. Shadows, we'll pull that back just a notch. This is a result of me just playing around, seeing what works. And then we'll push the blacks up a little bit. That's not bad. Now this is the fun part. Does anyone use deblur? I would say probably in most cases not. But this is where the action is. We took all that detail out, made it look like, some weird bad digital art. But we're going to really ratchet this up a little bit, maybe to about here. Okay, see it come in like crazy, crazy sharp? And then we have the suppress artifacts, which pulls back some of that. And we'll take that up. Come on. A little more. To somewhere like here. All right, now we're in business. Believe it or not, we're in business. We're going to close this down. And now we are in Photoshop with the original. That's the original. This is like whatever it is. But this is the good stuff. We're going to go in here. Let's change the opacity first. Let's get kind of a middle ground here. Somewhere around, pull that sharpness back just a notch. Somewhere around, that's fine. Before and after. Now this is the secret sauce. We're going to go to multiply. See how great that looks? You cannot get, and I've tried all the presets. None of the presets give me this look. I'm not done yet. So we've done our multiply, and then all we're going to do now is do our mask. Layer mask. If white equals, in my Orwellian technique, if white equals black, and then we hit B for brush, that's fine. And we're going to hit our bracket. We need a little larger brush. And then we'll start getting rid of this stuff. This is where it comes to life, right in here. Okay, now it's starting to look normal. And a little smaller, hit the bracket, negative bracket, left-hand bracket, and lighten this up a little bit. And then just fine-tune everything. Maybe pull this back a notch, pull that back, maybe do some separation in here, separate those icicles, little edge right here, maybe lighten up on that just a notch. This is not rocket science, folks. You play around. It's a little dark in here, okay? Just little stuff. Open that up a little bit. Open that up a little bit. Somewhere in there. And then bring our color out. because this is the subject basically right in here, this huge mass of very colorful graffiti, which is like remarkable. It's a great place. There's no commission work. It's all just like kids coming in with a six-pack or whatever and doing this stuff. You know, it's great. Great. They have a ball. They do paintball in here. They fish off the pier. It's just a really great. And the cops know it. They let them go. It's fantastic. Really a good thing. And I think that's pretty much our ball game. Okay, so we're going to say history, and this is where we started. Isn't that wild? What a big difference. The key to that process is the deblur that you will mix with the original to come up with that. None of the presets, none of them give you this look like doing a deblur layer and then with the original and blowing that. And then brushing in or masking what you want. But that's cold pier number 18. That's exactly what it feels like to be there. Okay, what's next? Oh yeah, we're winding to our last two pictures. So I'll try to talk a lot slower. Okay, National Cathedral, I'm sorry. Okay, this is phenomenal. This is in Washington, D.C. It's called the National Cathedral, obviously. This is a 360 pan. What that means is I'm standing in one spot and I'm shooting in a circle, complete circle. You cannot show a complete circle, so you wind up seeing this. It's surreal. This is not bent. That's a function of the technique, the 360 panning technique. It's fantastic. Really fun thing to do. Really fun. Okay. In some cases, let me just show you. I was just playing around with it. You know, and again, a lot of this stuff is a result of just playing around. Okay, I'm down here in Restyle. Now, granted, if I click on this, it's going to show you 1,000 presets. I'm not going to go through all of them now because of time constraints, but it gives you that. I've gone through and picked just a handful that I like. I starred them, and the stars show up here. Now, I've got more. I just picked 4 for this. And you can just click on those and see what you get. The one that I liked a lot was this. It didn't look too weird because that can be the color of granite in a different building. It just had it's a very different feel to it. So I just said, you know, I'm going to stick with this. And once I pick a preset, I do not go in here and play with the colors. I pick the preset because of the colors. So I leave these alone. And I move the strength up just a notch. Let me see. Let's move this up a little bit. See, there's your sharpness. That pops in. And then we'll come down here. And I'll add a little structure. When I print, I will tend to sharpen in Photoshop. Because that's what I print through. But that's what we have here so far. So we have this, and we have that. Now, I'm going to say OK on this. And we're going to take it into Adjust. And I'll do a layer on that, Command J. I may need it, I may not. Have it there for a little insurance. And we're into Adjust again, Adjust 5. It's phenomenal, phenomenal package. And we're going straight to finishing touch. I want to put a vignette on this so the eyeball gets pulled. Such a wide image, I want to pull the eye into the center, at least a little bit. So we'll grab our center, put it on the podium, put that here. We have a little vignette already. And let's bring this back a little bit, somewhere in there, and then bring the size up just a notch. There you go. See a little eyes getting pulled to the center now, see that? And just play around, bring the transition up, see what that does. That opens it up a little bit. I like it darker. And then I tend to have the curvature at 1. It's more of a rectangular vignette rather than a circular vignette, or an oval, so to speak. And that's pretty much what we're talking about. It's a little dark in here, a little dark in here. So again, we'll say OK, and we'll do our mask and our Orwellian white equals black. And then we hit brush. The opacity is fine. for me. And then we'll just open up these shadows here a little bit. See the detail come in? And I think we're pretty good to go on this. We'll lighten that up a little bit. Yeah, it's working. Okay. All right. There it is. Okay. Okay, something like that. And then we can say before, and then just a little vignette. It does pull the eye into the center. It could be more dramatic. I'm not going to spend all day doing that here, but that's the idea, to darken the edges to bring the eye toward the middle. But that is a really far out place. That's my friend Steve right there. See him? That shows you scale. You know how incredibly huge this place is. It's unbelievable. And we're going to finish up with this. This is a fall hillside in a particularly luscious fall in New Hampshire. And we are going to add a layer to this. Command J, and here we go. And this is the kind of shot that I use Simplify on, this type of image. And we'll come down here, and we will go to Simplify 4, Quattro. This is very easy. I'll just hit Simplify, and I'll just very simply just, up too much, pull that back a notch, just move these up one thing each one. See? That's a separate layer that we will blend with the original. So we're going to say, yeah, sure, it's that simple. That's the blown out, the Simplify effect. But I don't want all of that. I want part of it. So I'm going to say, okay. And then I will flatten these. I tend to flatten as I go along. Too many layers confuse me. And then we're going to go to Smart Sharpen. Oh, you know what? Let me undo that. I'm sorry. Let me pull the opacity back just a shade on this. That's what I forgot. That's what I forgot. Maybe somewhere around there. Okay, good. And then we'll flatten this down. And then we're in Photoshop, which we are right now. And sharpen, and I'll go to Smart Sharpen. Many of the methods work. Oops, sorry, I forgot again. Another layer, Command J, and now we would go to Filter, and then Sharpen, then Smart Sharpen, right here. And that's not bad. There's before, there's after. It really gives it a big crunch. But we're not done yet, so bear with me. And that's good. So we'll keep that. And now we'll pull the opacity back just a little bit. Okay, soften that up. 2/3 seems to work. Somewhere around there. There we go. A little bit of edge. Okay, now we're going to flatten this. We have one more layer. Command J. And we're going to go into Filter, Blur. Don't tell me. There it is. And then Gaussian Blur. It's pronounced Gaussian. And that's probably fine for our purposes. We can go to like a whole lot of nothing. Or we can go somewhere in here. And that'll be on a separate layer. Okay? We'll say OK on this. And then pull the opacity back a little bit. See where it's coming in with detail? And what if we say soft light? I don't know. Let's try it and see. Not a fan. Let's go back to here again because I want that glow. I want the glow. And let's go down to here. That's almost here. That's not bad. That's in the 40s. And a little more. Okay, something like that. A little more off the wall, a little painterly. That would print nicely. There's enough detail for it to see the detail. And we just softened it up. We actually accentuated the effect and then dialed it back with our blur. So, just to recap, there's our old man with clarity. Very, very peaceful. The look of inner peace. That's what that is. And our Cuba car, where we began as a color shot, just painted that in. What was next? This one? Yeah. From a color shot, this looks much better. And then that's what it felt like. That's a working class feel. It's got a hard edge to it, you know. And then we did our graffiti shot, which is very far out using the deblur technique. And then I think we did our National Cathedral. You should go there if you're in D.C. It's phenomenal. And then we went into our fall hillside to finish up. Nicole, I know it's early, but I'm pretty much done. You know, can I answer any questions or anything like that? You know.
Oh, no, this is perfect timing. Yeah, not early at all. So this is great. We have a lot of questions coming through. So if you have any other questions, everybody, go ahead and send them in. Tony, this has been awesome. You covered so much. So we've had a lot of feedback that everyone is enjoying it. Let's see here. Let's see some questions coming through. We had people asking if you were using a Wacom tablet.
I do use a Wacom or a Wacom, whatever it's called. Yes, I do. I've used one for years. I also use the mouse. It depends on what I want to do. But in general, using the pen-driven system is much more precise than the mouse.
Awesome. I had Audrey asking, when you were showing your Cuba pictures, she sent in a question if you would be doing a 2014 trip to Cuba, and she wasn't sure if she saw that on your workshop page or not.
John Barkley and I'm sure you know John. What do you know, John? We do these together, and there's a wait list. We normally have 30 or 40 or more, and that kind of whittles down as the year goes on. So if you want to get on the wait list, just email me or John. I'm Tony at TonySweet.com. I'm not sure what John's is. Go to his website if you want to talk to John. But we'll put you on the list, and this list does whittle down as the year goes along. So that's an option for you, absolutely.
Awesome, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, I have a lot of questions about the flower image. Number one, what kind of flower were you showing? Don had asked.
Okay, can I preface that with saying that I'm not a botanist, you know? It's what's commonly known as a white flower that's not quite open yet, end of quote. Okay. I don't know what it's called, dear, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I think I saw somebody write in that it was a moonflower or a couple other, or datura, D-A-T-U-R-A. That's what we have a lot of people writing in right now.
That sounds familiar. That does sound familiar, yeah. It wasn't quite open. They have them in Longwood Gardens in the summer, Longwoods in Pennsylvania, and they're in the outside garden, and that's where that was shot through our DVD there several years ago. But yeah, they're prevalent there in the summer, June, July, yeah.
Well, regarding the flower image, as far as shooting it, we had several people, including Richard, ask how the white flower was captured in camera.
Well, I'm not sure what that means. I shoot raw and I shoot straight down on that subject because I think that was the technique for that. But what was shown originally was the raw file. I mean, that's pretty much. Let me see. Let me get it up here real quick.
And then the kind of combination, I guess, of the.
That's the original shot.
Right, and maybe they're asking about the spiral effect.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's a multiple exposure. Yeah, just 10 exposures, and I'm on a tripod, and my lens has a tripod collar. This is important. So it's pretty much mounted on a tripod. When you loosen a tripod collar and turn the entire lens and camera, the entire mechanism, the spiral comes out of the center. That's why the center is relatively sharp. Does that make sense at all?
It does. It does.
Because I'm turning the entire lens and camera because it's on a tripod. So it emanates from the center. And then I'm doing very, very small moves going in one direction. It's this slight, and it's barely noticeable. But I think, as I mentioned before, if you do 10 very small moves, it winds up being one pretty big move when you're finished. You know, so I tend to always process in small moves, do multiple exposures in very small moves, that kind of thing. That's 10 exposure. You can do that in camera. In some cameras, if not, there's a script that if you send me an email, I'll send it to you. It's a free script, I think, from Uwe Steinmuller's website. That's Tony at TonySweet.com. I'll just send it to you. You can go get it. But if your camera does not shoot multiples, this will allow you to shoot 10 properly exposed files while moving the camera, and then you put those into one folder, and then you activate this action or script, and then it finds your folder and makes it look just like that.
Oh, very cool. So you manually put the exposures together, or the script did it for you after?
No, my camera does that, but if I had one that did not do that, I would shoot 10 manually and then put all those separate files into one folder and then use the script to create the multiple.
Okay, great. Thank you for explaining that.
Oh, sure.
Let's see here. David asked a great question. He says, do you go out and shoot particular images to get a result, or do you just go out and shoot what comes and then work with what you have from there? I guess, do you envision it beforehand, or?
I try to make my mind a blank when I go and shoot. I mean, I don't want to be thinking of anything. I just want to see what opens up, presents itself to me. I very seldom look for a shot. Very seldom, And if in the event that I look for one, and I see something on the way, I'll just stop on the way. I mean, I'm not married to getting to the spot. That's a destination, and things can happen, while you're on your trip. But in general, I just keep my mind open with as much as possible with no preconceptions, and just see what's out there. It's just very. Sometimes I get stuff, sometimes I don't. That's the ball game. Does that? I know it sounds kind of nebulous, but that's.
No,
I just try not to think.
The question perfectly. So.
I just try not to think when I shoot. I just go out and just try to react to what's going on around me,
All right. Well, we have several questions about the Cathedral image,
sure.
mainly regarding the camera lens that you used and whether or not this was stitched images together.
Oh, it's absolutely a stitched pan. It's about 50 images, and I'm shooting in a circle. And when you shoot with a wide lens, and I mean wide like 14, 16, 18, you've got to millimeter. You've got to overlap by half or a little more, or else the edges won't be able to find themselves during processing. So this is a 50 image stitched, and you can also, well, I'm not going to be too technical, but if I did HDR, it would be 50 times 5 or 7 or 9. So it can be really very time consuming, But stitch pans are really a whole other world that you can't see until you process it. It's just an amazing thing to do. It's just fun. And those kind of places are great for this type of symmetry,
Great. Thanks for explaining that. I have quite a few people asking what your normal process is as far as your processing of images. Do you use RAW usually? And what your computer specs are. Lots of technical questions out there right now.
Basically, those are very easy. I shoot RAW, and I've got a new Mac desktop, which I'm really, really excited about. Yeah, but I just shoot in RAW, basically. I mean, that's it. Not even basically. I shoot in RAW, and then process the RAW files in Lightroom, and Aperture still. I've got maybe like a ton of files from my past life in Aperture, but I'm using Lightroom now. And I pretty much process in there, So it's very simple workflow. I just shoot it and process it in Lightroom,
That's perfect. All right, I have, let's see here, Dan asking if Topaz Detail is your most used Topaz product, and if not, what is your most used Topaz product?
Boy, it sure goes in cycles, Dan. If it's a Dan Ruff, I don't know who it is, but it certainly goes in cycles, Right now, I'm liking Detail a lot. I was a big Adjust guy for a while. I'm kind of using that less. It really varies. It just goes in cycles, man. I mean, right now it's Detail and Clarity, because those are like really, really great. But they're all great. I mean, I like Adjust, but I'm not like focused on that as much as I used to be. Right now, it's kind of Detail and Clarity. It might be something else tomorrow,
All right, one second. Let me look at a couple other questions coming through. Oh, Lee was asking about if you were able to actually take in a tripod when you shot the Cathedral, but I think you might have answered that with the fact that it was a 50-shot exposure, or maybe
yes, you certainly can, but with the caveat to use a little bit of common sense. And if anybody's walking around, get out of the way no matter where you are, which you should just stop and move. Stay out of people's way. I mean, make it a point to stay as invisible as possible, and nobody will bother you. If one person complains, we're all going to be kicked out,
That is true.
That's the way it works. I'm sorry, that's the way it works.
All right, going back to the flower shot, that's definitely still a hot topic on the questions list.
Oh,
We have
thank
lots
you.
of people
Sure.
asking about if you use a macro lens for that particular shot.
That was shot with a, what was that shot with? It wasn't a 105, I don't think. It may have been a 200, because that's got a tripod collar on it.
Mm-hmm.
Or it may have been a 70 to 200 with a close-up filter on it, which is the same basic lens, you know. The important thing is to have a tripod collar. You can loosen that collar and turn the entire camera and lens like in a circular motion. So it was either the macro or a macro capability in a normal telephoto lens.
Lovely. Okay, great. Okay, we have a question coming in from Rex that I think is a great one. He asks about your lighting. Are your photos natural light, or do you ever add any off-camera flash or any other modifiers?
I don't use flash. I mean, I've got a macro flash system, but I keep that here for studio stuff. No flash. I use reflectors. I control the light if I need to control it with diffusion discs and reflectors, you know.
Great. Okay, thank you so much for coming today. We have a ton of awesome feedback. Everyone always loves your sessions and gets inspired by them, so really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Nicole. It's always a pleasure, and I thank you guys for everything. It's a great pleasure. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, everybody, have a fantastic evening, morning, or afternoon, wherever you are, and we'll be talking to you soon. Bye, everyone.